is resurrected again and again from the ashes. A city that gave the world a number of prominent Jewish cultural and political leaders. Golda Meir, Sholem Aleichem, Vladimir Horowitz. Modern times have set new challenges for us. Today, up to 140,000 Jews live in Ukraine, making it the fourth largest Jewish community in Europe and the 11th largest in the world. We continue to grow stronger and to adapt. Our unity is our strength. This is why the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine is organizing the Kyiv Jewish Forum. How to fight growing anti-Semitism. How to preserve our identity in the modern world. How to engage new generations. How to protect and empower our communities. We invited Jewish leaders from around the world to find answers to these questions together. Kyiv Jewish Forum. Welcome to Kyiv.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Kyiv Jewish Forum, which pretty much deserves the name of Global Jewish Forum. But this is important to have Kyiv in the title of the event, because as rightly was said in this video, and as Boris Lozhkin, the president of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine, remarked, Ukraine is the place where most of the Jews in this part of the world lived. Ukraine is the place where Hasidism originated. Ukraine is the place where many tragic, dramatic, and defining events of European and world history have happened. May I also add that Ukraine is the place where thousands and dozens and hundreds of thousands of then Soviet Jews demonstrated resilience and resistance and went along the way from slavery to freedom, as was depicted in the film that we, or most of us, saw yesterday. Before giving the floor to the man who is really behind the idea of this forum, there is one very important technical announcement. Most of the work will be conducted in English. However, there is simultaneous translation. I believe that those of you who have spotted the gallery when you were entering the hall took headsets. If not, then you will have such an opportunity. Channel 4 is for English. Channel 5 is for Russian. Channel 6 is for Ukrainian. And Channel 7 is for Hebrew. Пані і панове, нагадую, що у ваших приймачах для синхронного перекладу 4-й канал – англійська мова, 5-й – російська, 6-й – українська і 7-й канал – іврит. With this, I give the floor to Boris Lozhkin, the president of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine. Please give him a welcome applause.
Thank you. Dear friends, it's a great honor to welcome you all at the first Kyiv Jewish Forum and to the beautiful city of Kyiv. Many of you have traveled to come here today, and I would like to thank you for your efforts. The beginning of the 20th century raised hopes for many Jews in Ukraine. In 1917, Ukraine gained independence, and the first Ukrainian Republic recognized 3 official languages: Russian, Ukrainian, and Yiddish. All 3 featured on Ukrainian banknotes at that time. In a tragic turn of events, only 2 years later, some 1,300 pogroms killed between 30 and 70,000 Jews. The Jewish people of Ukraine then endured the Holodomor, the Shoah, and the Soviet anti-Semitic policies. When Ukraine gained independence in 1991, very few Jews remained in Ukraine. Many believed it was the end of a beautiful and dramatic story that had spanned over more than 1,000 years. But today, As we gather for the inauguration of Kyiv Jewish Forum, we are witnessing a true renaissance of Jewish life in Ukraine. How many of us would have imagined that Ukraine would become the least anti-Semitic country in Eastern Europe? How many of us would have imagined that over the last year, as a result of initiative of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine, more than 20 cities, mayors and village leaders would be renaming local streets after the Ukrainian righteous names? The heroes who risked their lives to save Jews during World War II. The Ukrainian society is changing. It's becoming more open, more tolerant, and more vibrant. And it's a role of Ukrainian Jewish community which is changing too. It's becoming more active, better structured, and more united. It is the role of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine in cooperation with all its members and partner organizations to lead and support this transformation. Our community should not rest on its laurels. Anti-Semitism is on the rise in the US, as we saw in the latest Anti-Defamation League report published last week. It's also on the rise in Europe, and we should not believe that the Ukrainian society is immune to this disease. It can raise its hideous head at any given time, something we have learned throughout our painful history. The fight against anti-Semitism is and will remain our number priority of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine, as well as the support of Ukrainian Jewry. These days, yet the rocket fire continues at Israel. And this is also our priority, to support the world Jewish community in our disturbance and sorrow, and to call on the international community to unequivocally condemn these dangerous actions and support State of Israel in these difficult days. And with a great pleasure, I want to invite to this scene a person who works hard every day for good of all Ukrainians, our honored guest, Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Pavlo Rozenko.
Добрий день, шановні друзі. Радий вітати всіх учасників Київського єврейського форуму. Вдячний організаторам Єврейської конфедерації України за можливість виступити. І перше
Ukraine for this opportunity to speak, and I'd like to extend welcome from Mr. Grossan, Prime Minister of Ukraine, and hopefully you'll have fruitful communication during several days in Ukraine, in hospitable city of Kyiv. And I want to say that undoubtedly for us today's forum, and Ukraine has always been and is homeland, one of the largest Jewish communities of the world. For us, it is very important to be involved in this forum, and the topic of the forum is extremely burning, and undoubtedly the Ukraine's government is welcoming you at the hospital Ukrainian land. And I want to say that Ukrainians and Jews have always lived this land from times immemorial, and are getting together all the historical developments of the states, as well as those things that we're happy with and make us happy. And on the other hand, there are sad sides of our common history, like hunger and Holocaust. And today, hand in hand, we are defending also territorial integrity of this country. And hand in hand, today we are on the side of the people of Israel, and Ukraine is condemning the fires, the shooting that have been going on over the last days, and we all hope for the renewal of peace in both the state of Israel and Israeli people. The Jewish community and Ukrainian culture, its heritage, are extremely important for us, and based on our estimates, more than 120,000 Jews live in Ukraine today, and undoubtedly that one of Ukraine's priority is to ensure all ethnic groups, including Jewish group, where all necessary conditions for development this is through for in particular education. And today we are proud that today in Ukraine we have kindergarten, and there are possibilities to learn the history, culture, the language, and today over 70 classes can have education. Also, we are fruitfully cooperating and learning consequences and reasons and of dark pages of the world history, in particular learning the Holocaust in the framework of implementing respective government programs, in particular Ministry of Education and Science is in the course of discussing the subject of Holocaust. It's our pleasure that a lot of scientific research are underway, and the Ukrainian Academy of Science Center of Holocaust Study and National Museums of Ukraine have launched research work on the history of Holocaust. We can also be proud of the high level of cooperation with the Israeli Institute of Holocaust and Heroism, Yad Vashem, in particular based on respect agreements. The Secret Service of Ukraine archives are open for studying our historical heritage. Also, I would like to point out that today Ukraine is ensuring cultural development of the Jewish national community, and today Ukraine has over 85 amateur groups that are active in most of the regions of Ukraine. We may be proud of the geography of the cultural development, and we can speak about wonderful operational Jewish cultural centers in the Dnieper cities, Zaporizhia, Chernivtsi, Rivne, Kamenetsk, Podilsk, and during of the last years, government and local authorities have been doing their best to preserve and develop ethnical uniqueness of Jewish ethnic communities, in particular through implementing regional programs of development. Let me say straight away that the government and whole Ukraine condemns all manifestations of anti-Semitism and intolerance, both international and national level, and joins all declarations of that nation, OSCE, and the European Union on condemning anti-Semitism and ultranationalism. Ukraine has been making every effort to defend its citizens. Ukraine will not support any signs of anti-Semitism, xenophobia, intolerance. Let me tell you that in Ukraine during 1918, and we can be proud of it, no case of anti-Semitism violence, domestic violence was reported like in 2017. Unfortunately, we've got today some signs, and they are on the decrease of anti-Semitic signs, but they are carefully investigated and looked at courts. Ukraine is doing its best to educate tolerance, non-stopping xenophobia and vandalism. I would like to know that for us it is very important to honor the tragedy of the Babi Yar, which is known across the world. The memory of the tragedy of Babi Yar as one of the Holocaust crimes is an integral part of national memory of Ukrainian people. And each September, in particular on September 29, Ukraine give honors victims of this the tragedy. In particular, quite recently in 2016, the highest international level, various events were held to honor the memory of the victims of the tragedy. We can also be proud and say today on the practical and institutional fulfillment of the main areas of the cooperation between Ukraine and the State of Israel. So, dear friends, once again, on behalf of Ukraine's government, I am pleased to welcome you at the hospitable Ukrainian land. I would like to wish you all fruitful discussions, good results, and our further cooperations in this area. Thank you very much. Once again, welcome to Ukraine.
Around the world, a person who contributes his efforts, energy, and a lot of money to the development of Jewish life around the world. The President of World Jewish Congress, Ambassador Ronald Lauder.
Today I'm going to speak for the first time without notes, because there are things I want to say that the people who write my speeches would not allow me to say. And after I'm finished, myself and Robert Singer may have to leave and hide away in some place. Anti-Semitism. First of all, in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, there was no anti-Semitism because people saw what happened during the Shoah. They saw the pictures, and nobody wanted to be associated with the Nazis. People understood. Then we got into the 80s and 90s, and it just started to have people who did not know. And today, 3 generations later, and almost 80 years later, a whole group of people do not know what happened in the Holocaust. In country after country, there is different speeches, and then there's surveys. And the question is, a vast majority of young people have no idea what happened during the Holocaust. They knew there's a man named Hitler and Mussolini, and they were strong people. And what we've seen more and more is that through the internet, which are filled with lies, and through various things, there is a growth of anti-Semitism, a major growth. But this is caused not only by lack of education, but also the internet, but a whole new populist movement that is taking over throughout the world. Today, country after country starting to have different laws that negate part of the Holocaust, negate what happened. But also what happened is that these countries, many of them, say, we're not anti-Semitic. We're friends with Israel and we're friends with the United States. Happens over and over and over again. There's a second question. Many of you here are parliamentarians, and you have the problems of staying in office. There's only so much you can say. You can't fight with the country. In the case of Israel, we've seen two trends happening over and over again. One, Israel has its own problems internally. And at the same time, there is a strong movement in Israel, which is right of center, which is more orthodox. Many of the Jews today in Europe and throughout the world are not orthodox, whether reformed or secular or conservative. And what we've seen over and over again is these people feel alienated very much from Israel. And we've seen also in the United States, which are very, very much has great prosperity and great strength because of our president. But because of that, it's America first, make America great again. And although America is one of the strongest countries pro-Jewish, pro-Israel, we also do not have the ability of the country to go out and protect the various Jewish organizations throughout the world. And the answer is, what can be done? What should be done? And what can we, the Jewish people in various countries, from Iceland to Finland to Eastern Europe to Canada to many other places, that feel alienated, that are alone? How do we fight the battles? How do we fight the battles of anti-Semitism? And one of the things we've found more and more is that there is a feeling of many Jewish communities throughout the world that they're alone, that they have no one there to turn to. I believe that what we must do, we must have Israel once again engage locally. What we have to do is have Israel once again to be not only the strong country, but we must be able to have Israel come into the various countries, not just talking about Aliyah, but talking about helping the Jewish people. We must have the U.S. then realize that one of the great strengths of our country is the fact that we must reach out to the Jewish communities all over and protect them. We see also things coming from the Islamic world, in the sense that very, very much the Palestinians could not, and many of these countries could not defeat Israel militarily, could not defeat Israel economically. What they've done is to try to defeat Israel politically. We see it in the UN, where country after country, and we see our 26 resolutions coming out in the UN, 23 are against Israel and 3 against other countries. We see that because they're putting all their effort into fighting against Israel politically. And Israel, at the same time, does not spend the money and the effort to counter it because they're competing with the whole world. We must do everything we can to change this dynamics. One of the things I've been a believer in, everyone knows that, is a peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I don't know what happens in June, but it's a critical time for us. We see what happened yesterday, the day before in Gaza, and why it's happening. And my concern is, if there's no peace, that thing gets worse and worse, not better and better. I believe very strongly that the role of the World Jewish Congress cannot be out there doing more than just helping the local Jewish communities all over. But we're only one organization. We must have the world behind us. We must be able to reach out from the left and the right. This anti-Semitism just doesn't come from the right, it comes from the left. It comes from everybody who feels very strongly, and they listen and they say, we're not going to let the Jews who control the world control us. It's a good narrative. And I'm here to say we must work together. This is an important forum. This is a forum we have countries, people from all over. We have parliamentarians who are there talking the truth. But very often today, the truth is stopped because many of these countries control the media, control the TV, control what's happening, and people only hear what they want to hear. It's a dangerous world out there, and I say it's a perfect storm. We must do everything we can to stop it. Through my schools, we've done some things, but we can't be alone. We must all work together, and we must reach out to Israel, and we must reach out to the United States more and say to them, let's all work together for one purpose. And the purpose is to find the ability for the Jewish people, not only in Israel and the United States, but worldwide, to live in peace and not have fear. There should be no reason that children fear wearing a yarmulke and walking down the street. What does that say to these children? What does it say about being Jewish? And it's a bad sign. Interesting enough, here in Ukraine, I must compliment the Ukrainian government. I've seen very, very little anti-Semitism. I've seen the same thing in Russia, because they're in two countries that really have had the government standing up and helping the Jewish people. But there are many, many other countries that we have, the worst being, I think, England. And it's a very dangerous time. But there are other countries around there. We must do something. This forum, if we do anything together, we must find common cause. We must be able to pull things together. And the Jewish people are one people, from the most liberal to the most conservative, the most politically, the most religiously, go across the board. We must be one people. We can't have people saying, we can't have fights between the religious and the non-religious. We're one people, we have to work together. That's all I can say. And I'm sorry I didn't use my notes, but I think it's more important to say what has to be said. I probably will not be invited back to many countries, but that's okay, because I think someone has to say what has to be said. God bless you all. Thank you.
And now we have an important thing to do. Ronald, we are very grateful for everything you have done and continue to do for Ukraine. On behalf of Jews of Ukraine and our Jewish community, it's our distinct honor and privilege to present you to the highest award of Jewish Confederation of Ukraine, Sheptytsky Medal. For that, let me invite to the scene Chief Rabbi of Ukraine, Yakov Dolblaich, and his Beatitude Sviatoslav Shevchuk, head of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church.
I just want to say a few words about the medal that we're about to give to Ambassador Lauder, which has on the front of it a picture of Metropolitan Andrei Sheptytsky, who was the head of the Ukrainian Catholic Church during World War II, and documented, saved close to 200 Jews in the monasteries of the Catholic Church throughout Western Ukraine. I personally have met a number of them who are still alive. Some of them who are very, very famous and important people throughout the world, famous Jews. So the idea of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine came about after a trip to Canada, where Metropolitan Sheptytsky was recognized by the Canadian Parliament as a righteous Gentile who saved so many Jews. And the idea came up to make a medal. It was the idea of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine, the picture of Metropolitan Sheptytsky, and a quote from Psalms: "Who will champion my cause against the wicked? Who will stand up for me against the evildoers?" And on the back, this unique symbol of the Ukrainian trident and the Star of David, along with the name of Metropolitan Sheptytsky and Jewish Confederation of Ukraine. The first awardee was Jim Temerty, president of the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, after which the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter became a partner with the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine in awarding this medal every year. Next to me stands my good friend, His Beatitude Sviatoslav Shevchuk, who's now the head of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. And traditionally, we have awarded this together as an initiative of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine, but along with the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. And it's our honor today to give it to my president. I'm a citizen of the World Jewish Congress, Ambassador Ronald Lauder, who has done great things to bring together Ukrainians and Jews. One of the greatest things he's done is help found the first Jewish day school in Ukraine, which is today also one of the most successful, but he's done also a lot for Jewish education throughout Ukraine and many, many things to bring together Ukrainian Jewish communities. So, together, you just said we should do it together, okay. Religious, not religious, Orthodox, Catholic. Good luck. What's your list out? What we do with that barrel? Take a picture. See, have a look at the sound tone. I get to the. Oh, one second. He wants to say in Ukrainian.
У світі, де сьогодні все міняється, нема нічого стабільного.
Nothing is stable. Today's human being is looking for fixing points, something that is not changing, which is eternal. Very often we say that these are eternal values, respect to the human being, to human life and dignity, respectively of the nationality, ethnic or religion. It's very important for us to have all people who are carrier of these values. Such a person was my predecessor, Bishop Andrei Sheptytsky, and it's very important that we have seen that there are also people today who are carriers the same values, and it is my pleasure today that this medal established by the Ukrainian Jewish Confederation is awarded to the President of the World Jewish Community. And today, on behalf of our church, we want to welcome you as well.
If there had been more people like Sheptytsky, we'd have a different world at that time. But there are people like him today all over. In every country, there are people standing up and talking. We must recognize them and work together, because good people, good will always win against evil. And what the danger we have is indifference. Elie Wiesel one time said to me, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And too often today we find people indifferent to what is happening to the Jewish people. We must do everything, and we are happy that there are people like this in the world, and I'm honored to receive this medal. But this medal doesn't belong to me. It belongs to people all over, people in this room who stand up and do everything. And I'll tell you, the bravest people I know are the people who stand up to be Jewish, and are sending their children to Jewish schools because what it takes to do that and the courage. But also from the different religious groups, we thank you very, very much for standing up with us as one people. God bless you.
Thank you. Dear friends, I want to invite for the speech our honored guest and good friend of Jewish community of Ukraine, Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Pavlo Klimkin.
Good morning, everyone. I always love to wrap up welcoming speeches. Basically, everything has been said. A couple of jokes and you are done. I'm gonna probably follow the example of Mr. Lauder and simply forget about my notes. Again, I would like to extend my congratulations, Mr. Lauder. You've been getting the whole jury through a bright but very difficult time. And it's about you, it's about your personality, but it's also about your mission, if you like. And it's very important. It's not gonna get better in the coming years, but we need to learn from your commitment, your courage, and many, many things you have. It's really important here, and it matters a lot for me personally to sit together with you on the panel we're going to have in a couple of minutes and to have great discussions. And thanks, Boris, for your great leadership. Thanks for getting us together today. It means a lot for me, not just a person or Ukrainian foreign minister, but also as long-term co-chair of our bilateral commission, and I believe we did a lot. We really did a lot. And it's just a good beginning of the week. You know, the weather has been improving, no rain, the mood hopefully also has been improving. Unfortunately, I missed yesterday the presentation of this movie about Nathan Sharansky, who is in a way for many of us a symbol of freedom. He is a part of our DNA in fighting for freedom in the same way like Oleg Sentsov became part of our DNA. It's an amazing person. And it's great to have a real discussion, not just statements. We are all good on any kind of statements. It's important to see what kind of reality we are in. And let me tell you one very simple point. Of course, we have to be vigilant, it's important. But it's not enough anymore to be just vigilant. We need a proactive campaign. We need proactive drive in the sense of fighting anti-Semitism. And of course, we could become complacent saying Ukraine is a great place to be. Of course, there could be manifestations, but fundamentally we are better than many others. But the whole definition of fighting anti-Semitism only nationally is the wrong one. It should be fundamentally understood by everyone, and not just because of that, but as a result of what we have done. I sent, actually the week before, if I'm not mistaken, the formal proposal to the President for Ukraine to join the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. It's something which, in a way, not just political. You should not see it just a political point. It's a point of fairness. It's a point of fairness for all of us, but also for Ukraine. And of course, we submitted also the point of joining the famous IRA definition. We're going to discuss it because we can't have the national approach anymore. And in front of me, I see a lot of great people, far more renowned than myself, to discuss all these issues. But it should be done, and it will be done. Ukraine is a long-term friend of Israel. It's not just because people-to-people links. It's not just because of political considerations. And of course, we made all the right statements. As I've said, we are good in statements, condemning what is going on now. But let me tell you one simple point. We can't, and we won't, in any way compromise on the security of Israel. It's fundamental. It's fundamental in the sense of how we here, how us in Ukraine believe what kind of role we should achieve in the future, and what kind of friendship we should enjoy with our friends. And it's not about getting ups and downs with any sort of political realities. It's about us. Of course, the way is very difficult. And, you know, if you ask me personally, it's not going to get better in the sense of international reality. I remember one of my last meetings with the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and he told me, look, Pavlo, what you see around the Middle East, if I should explain you one point, it's a medieval war fought with modern means. It's in this narrative you should understand everything. And why it's so important not just to be vigilant in the sense of fighting anti-Semitism. If you see all kind of developments, synagogue in Pittsburgh, yeshiva in Moscow, miracle, it's everything what we need to tackle. And we need to do it from our heart, not just as a simple political narrative. So let me welcome you. It's great to wrap up welcoming speeches. Everything important has been already said, but it's simply great to see such a great community of people in front of me today. I'm looking forward to great discussions. I'm looking forward to the oncoming meetings. But it's not just about that. It's not just about simple political narrative. So welcome again. I wish you a real drive and good mood in what we're going to do over the next couple of days. And simply welcome. Welcome to Kyiv.
And I want to invite Ambassador of State of Israel, Joel Leon.
It's good that we are speaking without notes, because I have to answer. And to thank you, Mr. Klimkin. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ukraine, for your friendship, for your strong friendship with the State of Israel. Yes, we can talk about anti-Semitism. Yes, there is anti-Semitism. I just got a tweet, comment from Arizona on the tweets that I have sent out about the strong condemnation of Ukraine on the rocket attack. I said, thank you, Ukraine. And a guy on Twitter from Arizona said, oh yes, now they are with Israel because they have a Zionist who is ruling them. So first of all, I want to say to all this anti-Zionism, that there is no way to hide behind the word anti-Zionism. We know your real face. You are anti-Semites. The second point is, with a Jewish president, without a Jewish president, with a half-Jewish president, with a one-third Jewish president, with whatever you want, with a Muslim president, Ukraine today is a strong ally of the State of Israel, and thank you very much for it. I'm very glad that you talked about the definition of anti-Semitism, of IRA, that I'm pushing since the first day that I'm here to have the Ukrainian government adopted it. And here my friend Garrick introduced in the Rada, the Parliament of Ukraine, a resolution asking the Rada to accept the resolution. I think that maybe the first step could be to adopt it as a non-binding definition by the Cabinet of Ministers, could be the first step, and then to have it as a binding definition. Thank you, Garrick, for your help. Thank you. I should have thanked everyone, because everyone is really helping and doing its utmost, if it's from Boris, if it's the rabbis, if it's the government itself, if it's the president, the new, the old, and in between. Anti-Semitism is in the rise. And yes, there is no violent anti-Semitism in Ukraine. The government of Ukraine is doing whatever they can in order to fight anti-Semitism. But yet, there is still the old kind of anti-Semitism, the visceral anti-Semitism, accusing the Jews of something that one Jew maybe has done, and then accusing the whole Jewish community that is still strong. It's still strong to think that the Jews are ruling the world. I don't know, Mr. Lauder, I don't know, but it's still very strong. It's not from today. I read a book called Against Apion. They went after a donkey who was, yes, I won't say what's doing, but it was gold coming out. Okay. And then the Jews love gold and money. Now, the book Against Apion was written in the 1st century by a Jewish historian called Josephus Flavius, Yosef ben Matityahu. He wrote this book in order to show against the anti-Semitism, So it's not from today. It's something very strong, and it's something that we have to fight. And we will do it together with the help of the Ukrainian government, and I'm sure that we will manage and we will come to an end. And we will manage to fight it together. I promised not to speak more than half an hour. I want to conclude and to tell you that Prime Minister Netanyahu wanted to be here. But as you know, we have a slight coalition building going on in Israel, and I don't think that any country in the world has this great game that we have. But before reading the words of my Prime Minister, I want to say one last thing. Somebody asked me this morning, I'm always wearing on my pin the flag of the State of Israel. And today, somebody saw and asked me, what is it? It's with a candle, with a black something. Yes, it's a candle, and it's written Yizkor, because tomorrow night we will remember all those who made the ultimate sacrifice for us to have a free and democratic state, the State of Israel. Tomorrow night we will remember 28,000 soldiers and civilians who gave their life for you Jews from all over the world to know that there is a Jewish state, and this Jewish state is protecting the Jews. The last victims, the 4 last victims of yesterday's fighting, are really Israelis. One is a Hasid of Gur. Second one is a Moshavnik. Third one is a guy living in a city. A fourth one is a Muslim Bedouin. That's the people who are defending the state of Israel. Let me read the letter of Prime Minister Netanyahu. Dear friends, I send warm greetings from Jerusalem to the inaugural Kyiv Jewish Forum. Jews have lived in Ukraine for over 1,000 years and are interwoven into the country's history and culture. Despite the murder of more than 1 million Ukrainian Jews during the Holocaust, today, the Jewish community in Ukraine has grown to become the 5th largest in the world. Communities and synagogues in Ukraine have been revived and restored, and Jewish life is vibrant and flourishing once more. The Jewish Confederation of Ukraine brings together Jews from across the country and provides important services. Your focus on Jewish identity, unity, and the fight against resurgent anti-Semitism are helping to preserve our shared future. The people and the State of Israel appreciate the support of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine and all that you are doing to strengthen the cooperation and ties between our two countries. I wish you a meaningful and productive forum. Sincerely, Benjamin Netanyahu, Jerusalem, May 1st.
And our last but not least welcome speech, Neta Briskin, head of Nativ agency, representative of Prime Minister of Israel office. Thank you.
Shalom.
As I'd like to extend my greetings to Ukrainian people. The Yiddish Mankel Sarim and Shalom Aleichem Channing and Rachel literature language Beluvis acted here, Princess of National Revival, and Zev Jabotinsky was born here as well. Since Israel was founded, Ukraine has been one of the states that have supported and recognized us as an independent state. In the first years in our young states, Ukrainian Jews were very active, leading politicians, brave military, and politicians among whom we could point out Ephraim Katzir, Moshe Sarat, Lady Eshkol, and Golda Meir. Prime Minister of Israel. It's worth mentioning poets and writers who renewed and reborn Hebrew. These are Marman Lozhkin, Nachman Haim Gazas, Abba Kubner, Leonard Kipnis, and many other people whom we could list for a long time. Jews victims of Holocaust, those who managed to survive, became the foundation of Israel. From extermination to rebirth, we carry it across to everybody so that we don't forget many Jews and that blood that was shed for centuries. And speak was the German occupation. In that time, over 1 million Jews were killed, women, children, only because they were Jews. Ghettos were all across Ukraine, such for instance Babi Yar, where during short time about more than 100,000 Jews were killed. This place had become a synonym of the phrase Jewish tragedy, and also a member of those. Today we have International Association of Jews and non-Jews have united for the sake of founding a Holocaust Museum in Babi Yar that will incarnate the monument for next generation to symbolize the memory of tragedy and will build memory of in the education center whose activity will guarantee that this will never happen again. I want to mention 2,600 Ukrainians awarded the name of writers of the world. These people, despite danger coming from occupants, were not afraid to become an example of real humanism. The hand of assistance extended to the Jews is undoubted evidence of right society and human moral. That's why we're thankful to the still Ukrainian people. Tragic events of the past calls for educating future generations spirit of respect of people and fighting hatred and radicalism. Unfortunately, today anti-Semitism is raising their hands. We must act to eradicate this manifestation across the world. Ukraine have paid a long way for fight against hatred. All officials of Ukraine have decided to fight hatred to Israel. By the way, in front of us, there's a alarm because even a word might hit you even higher. That the Molotov cocktail, our task is to eradicate this hatred discourse that kindle hatred against the Hebrew on the ethnic and religious basis. We have to eradicate anti-Semitism in politics and in everyday life. That Ukraine has set up and developed organizations, religious communities, synagogues, Jewish schools. There's no need to be afraid and hide Jewish identity, and we can be proud of what we are. Our desire as people of Israel is that each Jew is not above Israel united to be united with the Jewish community, to come to synagogue and to be faithful to history of the ancestors. But beyond all, it is important that each Jew remembers the connection wherever they are, because the ancestors remembered about this deep courage feeling for the state of Israel. I'm proud by the fact that I present here part of Israel that during 40 years where each Israeli is responsible for each another. And on words, let my people go, sound very strongly, no matter what language is said. Indeed, 30 years ago, a curtain was raised and gates were opened for more than 1 million Jews, and out of them more than 100,000 came from Ukraine, but it made possible not only represent, but it gave a chance to live and be proud of their Jewish origin. Today, Israeli cultural centers that in Ukraine in 4 major cities make bridge not only between Jews who are interested in come back to their old new historic motherland, but also for each Ukrainian citizen who want to discover Israel for them, who for a short time, despite risk and danger, have managed to transform highly developed country. And in the past and now, Ukrainians play a very important role for the state and people of Israel. Here we have Lozhkin, Member of Parliament Zev Elkin, Minister of Environment Protection of Jerusalem and Heritage. What's more, we are standing on this stage. Three of us were born in Chernovtsi, Head of Parliament, Director General Robert Singer. And as a living proof of a rich and important community that repatriated the state of Israel and its own blood and sweat contributes into its development and making links between the two states. I want to wish everybody present to carry on fruitful cooperation between our states, between Jewish communities in Ukraine and beyond, so that we all remember the past looking at the future. I want to congratulate the Jewish Federation of Ukraine on its 20th anniversary and express my special thanks to Confederation and in particular to Boris Lozhkin for important cooperation in the life of the Jewish community in Ukraine. Thank you very much.